Wrapped in a cocoon of steel, NASA's Massive Space Launch System rocket, or SLS, stands in the Vehicle Assembly Building. We got about as close as you can, but it's still impossible to see just how big this behemoth is. That will change soon enough when it emerges and heads to Launch Pad 39B at the Kennedy Space Center in preparation for its first uncrewed test flight as early as this spring.
I like to tell people, the friends and family, that's going to be so awesome. It would be such a great thing to see. And I like to tell people, you really, the way you have to think about that is, it's going to be a great thing to feel, because the rocket is so powerful that it really shakes you to the core. I mean, you feel the acoustics, you feel the vibrations coming through the air at you, and you really feel the power of the rocket as it takes off.
Liftoff.
Compared to the space shuttle, which stood at 184 feet, this first SLS stands, get this, 322 feet tall. Future versions will be even bigger. When it lifts off, its 4 main engines and 2 solid rocket boosters will produce 8.8 million pounds of thrust. By the numbers, that's 15% more thrust than the Saturn V rockets that took astronauts to the moon. That's 31 times more thrust than produced by a 747. And the vehicle produces more horsepower than 13,400 locomotive engines. On its first flight, the SLS will hurl the Orion spacecraft sitting on top towards the moon, where Orion will orbit twice before coming home. The second flight will take astronauts around the moon, and if all goes well, sometime around 2025, astronauts, a man and a woman, will put their boot prints on the surface, an historic return more than 50 years after the last Apollo crew. The astronauts on board future SLS Moon missions will certainly see their share of fame and glory. But it's the workers behind the scenes who are the heartbeat of the space program who will make those moments possible. Since the SLS program was first announced in 2011, thousands of designers, technicians, engineers have all played a role in the big rocket's development. Some, since they were kids, wanted to play a part in sending people to space.
I grew up in Cocoa, Florida, which is right across the river. I used to watch shuttles launch through my bedroom window, and it's a different feeling when you get to actually put your hands on a booster segment and put your hands on these transporters and know that you're a part of this process to take America back into space.
The workers have a sense of pride. In fact, it's more than that. It's a sense of duty, obligation to ensure everything is done right. Perhaps because when SLS lifts off, they will, in a way, be going too. And when astronauts are on board, the vehicle can't just be in good shape, it must be perfect.
When I think about the Apollo, Challenger, and Columbia, these are things that we don't ever want a family to have to go through, or we have to go through, because astronauts are family. So when we process and we put them on that, let's face it, stick of dynamite, we have to make sure that we do everything right, that we make sure that every box is checked. Because the idea that we had a bad day, there's no place for it.
There is no doubt that with each passing day, as liftoff grows closer, the level of anticipation grows.
I think I'm going to be elated. I mean, I'm going to get to see this huge column of fire rise up out of the earth and into the sky, and I get to say that I was a part of that.
And even knowing you dotted every I and crossed every T, there will at liftoff, of course, still be a degree of anxiety. That's just natural. And there will be tears of joy. That's just natural too. For MyRadar, I'm John Zarrella.
Follow MyRadar on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Download MyRadar on iOS, Android, Amazon Alexa, Xbox, and Windows.